Hey everybody, guess what? Today we're working on the Mustang. Why are we working on the Mustang? Well, I'm glad you asked. Not too long ago, I put a new transmission in it, and I thought the clutch was fine and good to go because it wasn't slipping before I pulled the transmission out. Well, I think I gotta put a new clutch in it because every so often it feels like the clutch is still engaged and it will lock me out of every single gear. So, I'm gonna take this thing apart and actually look at the clutch. I should have looked at it when I had the transmission out and I thought, it wasn't slipping, it should be good. Well, I don't think it's good. So let's pull it and learn together, shall we? So first things first, obviously you gotta get your John Force shirt on because he's the man. Second of all, coveralls, because it go get dirty. Next up, shifter knob. Just untwist, wheel semi like that. There we go. Throw that on the side. Next up, shifter bezel. Be careful about this because there's some tabs that like to break on you. And I just replaced the center console, so all those tabs are nice and good. Make sure you get the connector off of here before you pull anything else. We'll be doing some rewiring. All right, then it'll be on to removing the surround of the shifter. Shifter handle off. Shifter surround off. Set that aside there. I'm just keeping the nuts and bolts from the shifter stuff here. Nice and safe. Bag them if you want. It's up to you. I've been doing this a while, so I know what goes where. So, all right, now we'll take out them four bolts for the shifter. Then time to go underneath. Next step, you gotta get your expensive Matco gloves on because they're gonna help big time. Next thing's next, we're gonna want to take off that negative battery terminal because when you go to take the starter off, you're gonna have a bad time if that's still hooked up to power. Next up, we got them quick jacks. Here we go. Just go little by little, make sure everything's making good contact. And the other side is good, so now we can go all the way up. These things are seriously amazing. I highly recommend them. I'll have to do a video on the whole complete breakdown of them. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing a transmission on jack stands if you don't have to. Quick jacks are the way to go. They get you up that much more height and way safer too. There she be, all the way up there. And are we all the way up there? And down again onto the locks. And we're safe. There we go. Here we go. Next, pick up the socket and the bolt you dropped through the trans tunnel when you were removing the shifter. Alright, next up we're gonna get rid of the exhaust. So I'll show you what we got going on with the car. Got the long tube headers, 3-inch collectors. So I got the 3 bolts out from under there. Catalytic converters, they may or may not have things in there. All these oxygen sensors. There's a bracket right there. Gotta take that out. And then follow it back. And they're dumped. So we just take off that rubber hanger there and one on the other side and she's free. And ta-da! It's out! Woo! And next out is the drive shaft. That's an easy 4 bolts. And she slides right out. Alright, so I've got the clutch out with the magic of editing, and it was so easy. Not really. I have long tube headers. Makes it a little tricky. You gotta work the angles, we'll say. So I got the clutch out and I inspected it initially. So this is a center force dual friction clutch. This side, tons of meat on it still. This is the flywheel side. But then we get to this side and it's a different story. As you can see over here, there's on the outside edge, it might be hard to see on the camera. It's quite low here and it's much higher there. So we got some uneven wear going. I'm thinking that's what my problem is here. Because it initially looks quite good, but there's also, you can kind of see a faint in the center there. It's it's lighter than on the edges. So I think something's probably warped. I'm not too surprised because I did have nitrous on the car, and then I went to the racetrack.
Yeah, you did.
And then I went to 5,000 RPM and dumped the clutch.
Yeah, you did.
Multiple times. So,
oh, yeah.
Not too surprised. Not really any signs of too much on here for warpage. It's hard to tell. But it's probably time for a new clutch anyway. So, let's go over that way. Here we go. So I've got my flywheel all nicely machined. Look at that thing of beauty. It's it had a nice warmed over section on it before, but that is fantastic, ready to go in. And we've got our clutch. So I know Luke, not a sponsor yet. Anyway, they make stock replacements. This is the heavy duty version of this clutch for the Mustang.
Duty.
I'm gonna give this one a shot. I gave center force a shot. It had a nice light feel. If you've ever driven a stock SN95 Mustang, pedal feel is heavy. Holy moly. The center force was actually quite good. Center force, not a sponsor yet. But we got the Luke one. I'm gonna give this one a shot because the price was right. So comes obviously with your throwout bearing and your pilot bearing and install tool. And let's see here.
Ooh.
Looks like, it just looks like your standard clutch. So yeah, I am intrigued to see how well this one will perform. Yeah, it can't be too bad. It's got warranty on it, 12-month warranty, so.
Right on. Drive it like you stole it in the summer and see what happens.
Absolutely. So.
Well, drive it like you bought it because you didn't steal it.
I don't want to pull that tranny again.
No.
All right, so now it is time for pilot bushing removal. And I have a trick that I want to try. Let's go to under the car. All right, so we're under the car now. I'm gonna try a trick. There's the trick where you pack it full of grease and you pack it in, and then it pushes it out. You can use bread, you can use grease. I'm gonna try a paper towel because I don't want to waste bread. So let's start with this here. It's almost like you're doing a magic trick. Let's hopefully it works. Push up on that screwdriver because that'll wedge that in there. All right, here we go. Did they get it? Ta-da! Hey, we got it. Well, we got the bearing part. Part one. Part one of two. Bearing. Yeah, now I believe we gotta get that part out. Let's take a look at it. Oh yeah. Alright, our fight with the pilot bearing is complete. The pilot bearing came out in 2 stages. Stage 1 used this and a fitting onto here, slide hammer, and whoop, first part of the bearing out. And then this is a Matco harmonic balancer puller.
Not a sponsor.
And this hook fits perfectly in here.
Oh, beautiful.
This was on the back side of it. And this balancer piece threads perfectly onto the slide hammer. So sometimes you have to get a little creative. So now we will take the new 1-piece pilot bearing and install it, shall we?
All right, let's do it.
Oh, so in order to get the flywheel machined, I had to take out the dowel pins for the clutch. And rather than doing this on a creeper awkwardly, I'm gonna do this before I install it. So I lined up my pressure plate and I figured out it's gonna be there, there, and there. So those, these will go into place like so. Oh, they slide in nicely actually. I'll just tap them in the rest of the way with a hammer. And then that will be ready to go when we have it in place.
Way easier to do that on the bench than underneath.
Yeah, because sure enough, you're going to drop them when you're underneath
Oh yeah.
there, and they're going to fly out into oblivion. All right. Let's put this in place, shall we?
You bet.
All right, so here we are again underneath the car. I have the flex plate installed. I put blue Loctite on these, and I had my trusty dusty camera guy Dean and twin brother hold the flywheel with the coolest flywheel holding tool ever. And I torqued them to 50 foot-pounds.
As prescribed.
By Ford engineers. So now we're going to hit in the pilot bearing. There we go. When it's fully in, you'll hear it hit and it'll sound slightly different. So I don't know if you can tell from the audio, but I could feel a difference in the hammer. So that's in. And also, this shield. Make sure you put this in before you do anything else.
And those dowel pins are beautifully in there from the bench, as we did before.
Yeah. This shim plate, this will go on with the flywheel in place, as I will demonstrate right now. It can get in. It can get removed, and it can also get installed. So if you get your flex plate in and you forget about this, you don't have to take flex plate off. You still get that on there. All right, so I've cleaned the surface with rubbing alcohol, and now it is time to install the clutch and pressure plate.
Hooray!
Progress.
Yay!
All right, it is time to install the clutch. So on the disc, one side, this says flywheel side. That is a flywheel, so that goes this way.
And not a flex plate, as previously mentioned.
Just making sure everyone's awake.
What's that in your hand, Daryl?
That is an installation tool.
What does it do?
It installs the disc in the center.
So cool.
Look at this. That black part goes in the bearing.
No way.
Yep. Ta-da! It's centered. So
Yeah.
now, when we go to install the pressure plate, the clutch disc will be where it should be.
Sweet.
Hooray! I need some.
Hey, Daryl, what are you doing now?
I'm tightening the pressure plate.
Cool. How many foot-pounds does it go to?
It goes from 19 to 24 foot-pounds as according to Ford engineers.
Cool.
But right now, I'm slowly sinking them in by hand, going in a star pattern, so that I'm just getting it snug with this. Torque wrenches are a little awkward in this area, so.
You'd be hitting me in the head right now.
Yes, I would, so just snug them down in a star pattern slowly but surely.
You betcha.
And then we will torque them shortly.
Awesome.
Make sure that's nice and centered, which it is. Sweet. Fast forward to exciting stuff. And go.
Alrighty.
And I didn't get much video after that for reinstalling the transmission because it's just reinstallation of what you took out. Nothing too exciting there. I just wanted to highlight some interesting things and key things to look for when you're doing your clutch. And that's pretty much it for this video, and I'll be driving the car and showing you how buttery smooth that new transmission and new clutch is. Thanks for watching.